What's up, all you pinheads? We're back with another episode of Pin Pals, the podcast about enamel pins. I'm your host, Eric Roman from Warrior Pins, and I have a really fun episode lined up today. I feel like I say that pretty often, but I'm just really excited. I got to talk with Brooklyn-based pin maker Noah from Film Pin Society. FPS, Film Pin Society, or frames per second for any of you video nerds. We talk about the world of pins for filmmakers. Like this, I geeked out so hard. From cameras to lights and everything in between, Noah has pretty much made a pin for it. So me personally, I can really relate to his pins, and I got a kick out of just talking with him and learning a little bit more. We talk about his approach to branding and marketing. He's got these really cool boxes that he packs his pins in. We talk about vending at Patches and Pins Expo. And as always, we end with a fun Q&A. I love the world of filmmaking. Like I said, I actually received my BA in media productions. Shout out to William Patterson University, which, at this point feels like forever ago. But naturally, I was just excited to talk with Noah. So I hope you guys can feel that energy, feel that excitement. I hope you guys can also relate to what we're talking about. And hopefully you learn a thing or two about pins. Real quick, before we get into it, I just want to thank everyone who has supported the podcast. Like I mentioned previously, there are a number of ways to support the podcast. Just tuning in is awesome, and I can't thank you enough. But a number of you beautiful listeners decided to purchase me coffee. And that's wild. That's just still so wild. So I want to give a big caffeinated thank you to The Pintern, EXP Gain, Nostalgia Vault, Trusted Vibes, and Elizabeth Canada or Elizabeth Canada. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but you guys and gals rule. Thank you so much. Also, a very special shout out to Pins by Charlie for becoming the first member of our growing Pin Pals community on Buy Me a Coffee. So I set up these tiers in which you can support the podcast on a monthly basis. Charlie has joined the $5 a month tier, and that's going to give him access to exclusive Instagram posts. I'm going to add you as a close friend, so only you can see these posts and not the general public. You're also going to get early access to episodes and episode information, so you'll know who will be on the podcast before the episode drops. We'll also give out some special discounts and more. It's growing. I'm still getting the hang of everything, but what I'm trying to do is provide lots of value and fun, unique, interactive ways to engage with the podcast. And I think I'm paving the road through the Buy Me a Coffee page. So thank you so much. Link will be in the show notes. I've talked enough. Without further ado, enjoy this conversation with my pin pal, Film Pin Society. Welcome to Pin Pals, Noah. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat about pins.
Hey, I love it. Anytime we get any chance to talk about pins with anyone, it's always a good time. I appreciate you hopping on here. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and Film Pin Society?
Sure. My name's Noah Shulman. My company is Film Pin Society, based out of Brooklyn, New York. And Film Pin Society really is about celebrating the individuals that make up the film and video industry. So kind of taking everyday objects that we use to tell stories and kind of reimagine them into enamel pins and kind of create kind of wearable badges of honor into the world. They sort of give a new meaning to something as mundane as like a C-stand or a roll of gaff tape, for example. So I really wanted to use it as a way to kind of be a conversation starter with other like-minded people in the world. And it really kind of stemmed from, I come from a filmmaking background. Like I went to art school and I still work in media and industry. I don't come from a pin world, but I come from a filmmaking, and I went to, in the art world. So it all kind of came to fruition to help build Film Pin Society. But, there was always anytime I was on set filming, there was always this kind of sense of camaraderie on set between people, even if they were, new people, that crew members that you had just met that day. There was sort of this sense of like, we're all in this together. It's a long day. We're all hauling ass. And I kind of wanted to take the essence of that and kind of bottle it into a pin, kind of, offset for the rest of the world. And that's where the like trying to be inclusive in all kind of different departments and kind of really, really being inclusive, because everyone on set, not just the director, not just the cinematographer, everyone plays an important role. And that was really important to kind of the ethos of the brand, is to represent as many departments as I can through a pin. But also in addition to that, I have these short, what I call film pin stories, which are just very simple, short interviews with creators and creatives, but not just the director, not just the cinematographer. So that's also just great content that people can relate to. And it's really, it's about being exclusive, but inclusive.
Wow. I love it. I mean, first impression of just your website, your pins, and it just got me excited. We talked about this a little before we started the call, but we met at Patches and Pins, and I remember just gravitating towards your pins, because I also come from a media production background. So I was just kind of like geeking out over the lens pins that you have, the cameras. I think you had the C stand at that time. And I'm like, that is hilarious. I love that. Like, I can easily just, I think, approach anyone wearing that pin and just have a conversation about that. And then bam, that's like the awesome thing. So I think you're doing a great job. I mean, you got a fan and a customer over here. I did pick up a pin. It was awesome, man. So
Awesome.
That's very cool. Awesome ethos. And I love the film pin stories. Those are really cool. So so you got your love for film, cinematography, that whole cinema world, just making movies. Were you looking for pins, like film pins, and then you just saw that they didn't exist, so you kind of took the plunge to go for it? Or was it really, I want to connect people, maybe pins will connect people? How did that idea come about?
So that's an interesting story. I was not necessarily a pin collector growing up. I was a collector of things, which maybe that's sort of maybe just kind of ingrained in me. I was a huge basketball card collector as a kid.
Nice.
My parents begged me to get rid of it. It was like I was a serious one. There was boxes full of inserts and everything was labeled. And so it really came about kind of completely out of nowhere. And it's really, it wasn't on my radar to pursue pins as a project or even as a business. It really came about because, and it was kind of a weird full circle moment, because he's now a great friend of mine, and huge props across the board to the kindest, awesomest dude ever. His name is Maurizio Alvarado, and his company is called Rockin' Pins. He's a great person in the community. And I got connected with him because he does a lot of licensing deals with, cartoons and artists and musicians to make their IP into enamel pins and patches and so forth. So he actually had licensed art for my father's old progressive rock band from the 70s, which their name is called Gentle Giant.
I love that.
And I think someone in the band or my dad, someone sent it to me. And I got in touch with Maurizio, and he sent me some pins and patches. And I was like, this is what I would do. This is how I would reimagine something from 40 years ago. So I was really impressed by it. The art was a great kind of translation into an enamel pin, which I know is not easy. Mm-hmm. And we just started talking. We had a lot in common. And he started telling me about the pin world and the community and the audience, and kind of just finding your niche within that community. And I literally, it sounds generic. People say it all the time, but I was literally in the office, and one day I just literally had like a light bulb moment. And I was like, what is the niche audience I know? And I'm around creatives and filmmakers. why not combine the two? And like, what is that? Like, how can we do that? Because there's something there. I did research. There was kind of a void for something that maybe people weren't even thinking could exist. And so, yeah, so that's really how the idea was kind of birthed. It's really all because of my conversations with Maurizio at Rockin' Pins. And it's crazy. It's crazy that it's come full circle, because I grew up in and around the music business and music, and it all kind of somehow comes back to that, including my day job today. So
that's very cool. I like that full circle thing, like for me growing up, I've always been a Turtle fan. You kind of like fall out of it in your like early adolescence, like, early adulthood, but then you just fall back into it. And then you're just like, well, how can I somehow use the Turtles and a side business? I want to do this. I want to make some extra. And it just comes full circle. And it's just like, that's really cool. So I can kind of relate to that. I like that.
Yeah.
I got to ask, how did you come up with the name? Because when I see it and I see the branding and everything, I'm getting major like Rushmore vibes, like Beekeeping Society vibes or something like that.
That's funny. I think someone did say in some of the earlier iterations of the branding, I think a few people said it reminded them. Maybe it's because the font for everything is Futura bold and
there you go.
Futura medium, which is very like Wes Anderson-y, I guess, even though I'm not really a fan of Wes Anderson, which is kind of funny, but yeah, so I feel like the name really kind of came quickly. It was weird. It was like, I knew I wanted the word film pin. So it really started there. And, I feel like society came in because it sort of, the word society kind of tied into the general story of what I wanted the experience and the brand to be, which is something that's a little bit more elevated and a little bit more exclusive and cool feeling. When I kind of like attached that to film pin, I actually didn't realize it until like a day later that I was like, oh shit, FPS, frames per second. Like, this is it. Like, that was it. I don't think I ever really messed around with other ideas. So,
wow.
Yeah.
At that moment, you just must have been like, okay, this is it. This is too good, like to pass up. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Talk to me about how you decide what you want to turn into pins, because there's so many different gadgets and gizmos in the film world, from the slate to the C-stand to everything in between. I mean, you even have like electrical cables, like lighting cables and stuff like that. Like, it gets so super specific. So I'm curious on your selection process.
That's hard, because it's it took me not to veer away from the question, but it took me like 6 months to start, like to basically from the conception, and that includes the pins. The first 6 pins, I launched with 6 pins at first, which that was a very arduous process, because I wanted it to, and it's still to this day, it's still difficult, because there are some pins that I do not expect to do well. And because there's a balance of trying to make something for myself, but also for what other people want. It should be kind of both, because, it's my passion. And, so yeah, it's a balance of finding something that is niche enough for like diehard filmmakers and techie kind of people, but also should hopefully have a broader appeal to just people that love movies and what they think of, films, more casual people. So I knew off the bat that the slate, and I feel like the slate is a great example, because the slate is what everyone just inherently thinks of as movies, like lights, camera, action, and all that kind of stuff. But the type of slate I specifically chose is a specific time-coded slate that glows. Like in real life, it actually glows, pin glows. And the actual time code that's on there has like a hidden meaning. They're dates and birthdays of people that I love, which no one probably knows.
I was going to ask. Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I still find it very difficult to like keep kind of new ideas that are going to get people to come back, but also have a wider appeal. But I really, like the pin that I didn't expect to do as well as it did was like the gaff tape roll, because that's like really, really specific, especially the way that it's
Yeah.
presented, which is like it's on a string, which is how most gaffers I've met on set carry their gaff tape. So,
Hmm.
and then there's pins that just I thought would have done well. They didn't do well. I have a lot of them sitting in my closet. That being the pre-comp pin, which is an After Effects
Yeah.
related animation kind of a pin. So yeah, it's tough. I have a whole lookbook of ideas that I just always add and come back to for new pin ideas. So
So
yeah.
you kind of try and run them through the filter of this is something that I would wear, and I think this could appeal to kind of like a broader audience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Because look, at the end of the day, it's a passion, but it's also a business. I can't.
Hmm.
I'd like to not lose money. So if there's a way
Yep.
for me not to lose money, but also feel passionate about it and excited about it, like that's the balance that you're always kind of teetering on. So
It can be kind of tough too, because you can have your heart, I've been here. You have your heart set on like a design. You think it's going to go well. You love it. It makes you laugh. All your friends are laughing, but it really just isn't like resonating with anyone or out there on like the Instagram and stuff like that. And that can be disheartening, especially if you're new to the game and this is like one of your first pins. So I like your strategy, even though it did take, like half a year or so
yeah,
to like release FPS with a bunch of pins just to kind of cater to all those different types of audiences. And then from there, you just see how they go, and then just kind of double down, on like what works and stuff like that. So
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah,
good strategy.
yeah, for
I
sure.
like
And
that.
I think the 6 months was really just like, I would say a lot of it was, yes, a lot of time was spent on the design. I work with a designer, amazing. One of Maurizio's awesome recommendations. His name's Jason Cryer. Highly recommended. He's amazing. I definitely spent hours on everything but the pin designs too. It was just like,
Hmm.
yeah, Maurizio and I had lots of conversations, but a lot was just figuring out, like he put me, thankfully he put me in touch with a manufacturer that he trusted. But everything else I just kind of figured out, like, what does a backing card look like, and the thickness of the backing card, and finding manufacturers. As much as I would love to do it here in the US, it's also not super, super viable. So a lot of it's
Hmm.
overseas, and there's the communication. I'm up super late because of the time difference, which I'm
Yep.
sure a lot of pin people know. Your conversations start at like 10 p.m. On the East Coast. So, but yeah, a lot of time was really kind of taken into like, I work with brands every day. I work with musicians every day. This was no different, which I think was another kind of light bulb moment, which was
Hmm.
being able to apply all the creative. I'm a creative director in my day job, and working across all kinds of mediums, and it was also like, oh shit, like I can take everything I know to a completely different industry. And that was also kind of like, I really like, wow, I really like, I can figure this out. So everything from like the backing card, the thickness of the backing card, what's the finish, there's gold foil on everything. And then the boxes, which can't see it, but
There
like
you go.
that box was completely custom from scratch, that I had to just figure it out. So yeah, I wanted to take the time to figure out who FilmPin was as a brand, who they represented, what the entire experience was like before I even launched one single pin. So that was really important to me.
I like that, and I think that's
Yeah.
a really good approach to it. We probably spend a good chunk of time just like preparing, and we only released with one pin, but
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into it that a lot of people don't know. So it's cool that you took your time, It is a long process, but that's just kind of like the nature of it. You want to make sure you're crossing your T's and you're dotting your I's,
Yep.
especially when you're in conversations with your manufacturers, because it's super easy for them to assume some things or for you to look over something.
Yeah.
Again, applaud you on your very strategic release plan. Not a lot of people have that, so
Yeah.
and I've
Yeah.
talked to lots of different people. So I just want to take a moment to commend you on that. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I
People
mean,
just get hyped.
yeah, no, totally. And I think it's just like what, the question I think anyone asks in any kind of field or business, it's like what sets you apart. And like that was really important because I know there are there's a lot of pin makers in the community. So like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you get noticed, through all the noise and beyond just, being a niche focus, the entire experience was just as important to me as of opening the pin and feeling something and feeling special and all all of that is part of the story to me.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I definitely got that experience just by looking at your website earlier. I was just like, wow, everything was just so clean. I want like just the presentation of it all. So again, you really did a good job. And I'm emphasizing this because people should really take their time. It's super easy to rush into this when you're caught up in the moment and things like that. But like you actually buckled down
yeah,
and you
and
had a
I
vision.
and I definitely I think from the light bulb moment, whenever that was 6 months prior, I think I was also thinking ahead, like with some sort of end date, because I
Mhm.
believe I launched purposely around Thanksgiving time, like with enough time before the holidays to kind of generate buzz, because I knew
Yep.
that's usually when the peaks of sales are for probably most businesses. So
Mhm.
I wanted to get it out at some point in November to kind of just establish that it was there. So
Very cool. So I got to ask, is there a pin that you didn't think was going to do well, but just like exceeded all your expectations?
yeah, I mean, I think the like I mentioned, I think the gaff tape
The
roll
gaff tape?
is definitely the one that I was like, no one's going to care about this but me and a few gaffers. But like even like the first time that I introduced it on a post, like it just did extremely well. So I was really surprised by that. Um,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
no,
Gaffers
yeah,
are
yeah,
low key the heroes of every film set.
absolutely.
Very important. So let me ask you, the pandemic has definitely affected all sorts of businesses, specifically e-commerce and online businesses like ours. How has the pandemic affected FPS and how have you kind of overcome this?
Yeah, I mean, I think off the bat, as all of this was kind of happening, I mean, I definitely scaled back on. Granted, look, I'm lucky enough that I was able to keep my job, and was very aware of that. And I definitely scaled back on creating new pins, as well as scale back on paying for advertising and paid
Mhm.
posts and all that kind of stuff. That definitely for sure scaled back. I think it went back up obviously around the holidays, but and then I think as I started running out with some of the smaller kind of nice to haves in each package, which to me weren't really super detrimental to the experience. Like once I ran out of like stickers and like film pin stickers and business cards, I didn't reorder those because I don't think
Mhm.
they were a little bit wasteful, and I feel like they didn't contribute a ton to the actual pin itself. So I stopped kind of including those. And then when things first hit, I made sure to I did a few sales where I donated part of the proceeds to the Motion Picture Television Fund, and I think it was Feeding America, because a lot of people I knew, even just freelancers, no one was filming on set. It was really
Mhm.
scary. It was a really scary time for everyone, and the industry is sort of coming back, which is good, but it was a really tough year for a lot of people, for all industries. Um, so yeah, I would say that. And then, I think just like see seeing how overloaded the USPS was across the board, especially during the holidays, was like, it was tough because like I have a love-hate relationship. I think every pin maker probably has a love-hate relationship, mostly hate. I don't know. But yeah, I would say like, the biggest kind of takeaway from that, even both from being a business owner and also as a consumer for small businesses, I think the biggest thing that people sort of had to, including myself, had to kind of just learn was to be a little bit more empathetic to smaller businesses because, I think people always expect Amazon customer service and delivery. And if something isn't in their inbox in 3 days, then where is my package? And, I think as long as you kind of put a personal touch to that, people are more empathetic. Even myself, as understanding that small businesses sometimes do have to charge for shipping, and I think that really did open my eyes through this pandemic, both as a business person and as a consumer. So yeah.
Well, I mean, you're doing a great job. I love that you're giving back and you're helping and you're taking logistical approaches to kind of handling this time where you just don't know what's going on or what's going to be in the future. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so before we move on, I'd like to ask if there is a piece of advice that you could give to anyone trying to enter the pin game. What would you give them?
I would say, I would say don't rush into anything. As exciting as it is, like I said before, like take the time to research, see what's out there, see what there is a lot of. Don't do that. To me, just because of my background, I feel like it's sort of like any other business. Like what's your voice? Who are you?
Yeah.
Like even if they're, pop culture references and all that, like they're still kind of wrapped in a brand and a name, and like what's that? What is that sets you apart? And spend time thinking on what the entire brand experience is. I think that will help set yourself apart. And I think understand that, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money up front to get things moving, and it's, like the saying goes, like you have to spend money to make money.
Yep.
I think I was aware of that. I don't think I was aware of how much, but thankfully it wasn't too much, but
Yeah.
I was just, I had to spend X amount to really just, get the website up, get the design going, get the pins, manufacture things. And I would just, I think that's the main kind of advice I would give to someone.
I love that. And I think we're going to have a bunch of replays, like going back, like, the 15-second button on the podcast player or whatever.
Right.
Good tips on that. I'll be sure to turn that into like a little clip or something.
Sweet.
But cool. So let's move on to marketing. This is something that really tickles my fancy. I've been in the marketing field for years now, and it's awesome. So I'd like to ask if you have a certain approach to marketing your pins. I know you stressed before all about the experience. So I was wondering if you can, talk a little more about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I would say just in general, like Instagram was clearly the kind of winner for in terms of getting the word out across the board. I cross promote on Facebook, but like when I look at some of the analytics, 85% of my sales on my Shopify account comes from Instagram, which I think I knew that going in, that's what that was going to be. That's the most appropriate channel for that. But yeah, I think like all the details I spoke about earlier of the packaging, and like that's literally, and I have it here, but like that's literally down to the mailer. Like this is,
oh wow,
I don't know if we can see it. I have the blurry thing on there, but
it's coming in and out. But yeah.
Put it with my face. There we go. Anyway, it's a matte. For anyone that can't see this, it's a matte black bubble mailer with a like matted gold logo printed on the front. So I like things like that were really, really important to me. Like when you get it in the mail, that's also a great identifier when your mail is lost. It's a black mailer with a logo on it. But yeah, I just, like I said, that's part of the story is when you get this package in the mail, like, something special's hidden beneath it. But
Yeah, I like that.
but yeah, and then in terms of like, yeah, things like I wanted the box to be an option for every pin so that people, for people could, create a gift out of it. Or a lot of people have been purchasing like a ton of pins per order for wrap gifts on like TV shows and, to all the crew members. And
that's cool.
I don't know if I actually thought of that when I was creating this. I'm like, that makes complete sense,
Yeah.
I just had like an order for like 40, 50 pins in one shot, which was awesome. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like a little byproduct of that. That actually happened to us. We had like a brain power pin, just a little lightning bolt coming out of a brain. And a neurologist contacted me and wanted like 20 to 30 of them for his practice. I'm like, this is so weird. Would have never thought of this, but this is really cool.
Yeah.
Love those like little accidental, like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
There's a new market right there.
But yeah, I would say like my focus definitely is on Instagram. I also like, made sure to, when I want to spend or push certain, whether it's a giveaway, people love giveaways. I don't do them too often, or a sale or a new product. I've also like, made relationships with a what do I want to say? With bigger film specific related Instagram accounts and doing like paid boost, not boosted posts, but paid posts on their channels, places that have 500,000 to 1 million followers. And usually the returns have been really, really like even worth more than, just a simple like $60 boosted post on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
So that's
awesome.
Yeah. So like, like for someone that's not necessarily in the film industry, like that could easily be, converted to someone that, for like Turtles, like there are tons of like 80s nostalgic Instagram accounts. Like that's completely aligned with the same audience, not necessarily another pin account, but so yeah, I think that has proved really well for me as well. So
that's cool. And then you see a return like that too. So no, I kind of had mixed feelings about that kind of stuff, because there'd be a lot of accounts, like with anything, you got your good eggs and your bad eggs. There were some accounts that had like a crazy following, but you just kind of look at their feed and they didn't have a lot of likes. Their engagement rate was kind of low, and they're charging, they got like upwards of 100,000 followers, but like 100 or so like likes and stuff like that. And you're charging how much? Like, I don't like what you're doing. You definitely have to do your research. And your idea of just approaching like niche communities, somewhat niche, somewhat broad, kind of within the same realm, I think is pretty smart. And for film, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's cool. So you just use Instagram and Facebook. You're not on Twitter. Are you looking into like TikTok or Clubhouse? I'm wondering, I'm asking people, if they're looking ahead for social media.
Right.
Curious.
I'm not. FilmPin is not on TikTok or Clubhouse. I have a Twitter where, again, it's just like another cross promotion, but I don't focus a lot on Twitter really. But yeah, it's mostly Instagram and some Facebook. That's really it. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Instagram's usually like the bread and butter for trying to sling pins nowadays.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're on Shopify.
Yes.
What's that experience been like? Love, hate, tough, easy? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I'm on Shopify and I'm on Etsy. So,
okay.
So Shopify, I would say when I was in that 6 months launching, actually another friend of Rockin' Pins, another pin guy, Thumbs Media, which is another big guy. His Instagram's Thumbs1. He's a huge pin guy, helped me because he had a Shopify account. And I just like, it was pretty daunting, to be honest, when I first went in, because I'd never seen the back end of an e-commerce platform. And I mean, in hindsight now, it's actually like, first of all, they have some of the best customer service ever. They're incredible. They're always, super quick to get back and help you try to figure shit out. It's actually like, now that I know it, it's probably one of the easiest platforms to learn. Honestly, it's really easy to organize things, organize products, and see all the analytics. You can see like where the traffic's coming from. You can see which product sold the most. You can do inventory, so you know how many is left. It's, I think the hardest part for me at first, which I actually, as of like maybe 2 months ago, I changed the layout now that I know Shopify, but I think I had a very specific like look in mind that I didn't see in like one of their templates. And that's partially why I hired someone to help me figure out some of the, the coding to some of it. There's not a lot of coding. It's still very much like kind of plug and play, but, and I also do love that they also have like discounts built in, like with the paid account, which is I think like the cheapest one's like $30 a month. You get the discounts for, USPS and shipping, FedEx, UPS, all that stuff is discounted, which is really helpful. And then I think I did Etsy maybe a month or two after, just because I felt like it was, and I mean, that's also like, that's the place for these kind of, for pins. That's the place for what people are looking for. Maybe not necessarily film people, but again, like I gotten probably like 60% of my business is from Etsy alone. So to me, it's two different channels that are servicing two different people. So it's more channels to get people's eyes on. So I really use both almost equally at this point.
I like that approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely treating them differently is awesome. You got different people going on both of them. And you have like the giant search engine database that is Etsy. And, I'd say 9 out of 10 times people are searching for pins on Etsy. It's easier to find that kind of stuff versus like Instagram or like going on Google and things like that.
Well, also my Instagram shop is also like, if you can literally, like, Shopify connects to Instagram store. So, and Facebook, like it's all fed, your products are fed through both those channels automatically. So like, that's also like a no-brainer thing that just automatically, you have to click a few things, but yeah, everything that you can buy through like the shop tab on Instagram and on Facebook is fed through Shopify, that's also a huge win in my opinion. So
it's so awesome. Just being able to tag your products just makes it so much easier for customers to pull the trigger. And I've definitely seen that. I'll post something, tag a product, and just like a couple minutes later, there's an order for that product. I'm like, well, that worked. I'm glad I took a couple minutes to make that post. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Before we move on to the next topic, I want to ask, what's one Instagram tip you can give our listeners in terms of, trying to maximize your organic efforts?
Good question.
I just thought of it on the spot.
I mean, I feel like I try to vary the timeline up a little bit, or the page a little bit. I would like to do more of that. I would like to do more behind the scenes kind of stuff and not just product and the film pin stories. But I think I'm trying to think what's a good answer to that.
Like, are you using Reels? Are you taking advantage and seeing any success using like Instagram guides or IGTV or anything like that?
I have not ventured into that for film pins. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know. I think the key is to I mean, tagging people helps for sure. Tagging like-minded profiles definitely helps. Like I said before, like finding other profiles that maybe would feature your products has definitely helped. Some of I only have wholesale with like one or two or a few people, but Film Tools is a huge supporter of mine, and they carry their stuff online and in store. So like
Wow.
we work a lot together on, like, we did a big giveaway together maybe 2 Christmases ago. But yeah, I think like consistent posting, trying to keep it varied, and then just trying to being self-aware is also like, yes, sometimes I'm a little jokey with some of the descriptions. And I think that little nuances like that put personality into it instead of this very like too serious of a brand. I don't want to come off as obnoxious or too good for anyone. I'm self-aware that things can be silly,
Mm-hmm. I like that.
So.
Definitely good tips. Definitely good takeaways. So I got a couple questions I want to ask you about vending. We both vended at Patches and Pins, New York, 2018, 2019, one of those shows. And it is like, if you've never been to one of these shows, it is a wild experience. Like, woo, I've never met like people just crazy about pins. And I mean this in like the best way possible. Like you're like in the heart of like the pin game at one of these shows. It's insane. People from head to toe covered in pins. So I want to know, what's your experience been like vending, at Patches and Pins and maybe any other shows?
Yeah. I mean, I attended, I think maybe I found it out through, I guess, my research and stuff, but I attended Patches and Pins Expo maybe 3 or 4 times before I even thought of Film Pin, frankly.
Wow.
And then once I did Film Pin, I just wasn't ready to do it. And I finally did do it, I think like you said, 2018, 2019. I did not know what to expect. It's a completely different experience being a vendor than a customer. It's really tiring. It's more tiring than I thought it would be. Thankfully,
is it more tiring than being on a film set?
it's kind of almost. I don't know. It's weird.
It's in the same vein.
You're less physical, but I guess there's a lot of talking and saying kind of the same thing, and. But I mean, my experience was, I don't know if I would do it again personally. I just don't know I think there's positives and negatives to both. Obviously, I think, you obviously have to pay X amount to just even show there. So, I was willing to make the investment for my first go around, kind of just thinking ahead, like, I'm going to have to buy some kind of display stuff, like I did like a custom, what is it called?
Like the runner? I think you had a custom runner.
Yeah, the custom runner. I reached out to my friend who's a woodworker to make like this walnut display. And then I found like this hard, it was like an old hard case for lenses that was like super beat up. And I got these decals and I branded it, and then I had it, I lifted it open and created like a display out of the film case as well. So I knew I was investing in those things for like future ones. It was like kind of a one-time deal. I'd probably use the stuff again. But I think the positive side is really just like getting to see people's reactions in person and talking to them about the brand and obviously making sales. But it was funny because almost every person that day that was taking a business card thought they were taking multiple business cards because the card stock was so thick. I had to be like, no, that's it. It's just that. And they were like, holy shit. So that was kind of a funny thing that I just kind of had to say over and over again. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the positive, is getting to meet I made friends with a few of the other vendors there as well, which was, I still talk to today. And it was just really, it was exhausting. I brought my wife to help me. She was not having it at the end, but I don't know. It was a lot more work than I thought. I had to pre-pack pins that I thought people would want more of. And, I don't typically like to pre-pack anything, because you're punching holes in stock, and but yeah, that took quite a while, because I think at that point I had probably at least like double the SKUs or the products from when I started. So yeah.
Holy moly. I just got like exhausted just like hearing you talk about that and thinking of my own experiences. You're dead on. It's very rewarding seeing people's reactions and making some money, but golly, at least for me, like you're in Brooklyn, so the commute isn't that bad. I gotta get on like an hour and 15-minute bus ride into the city, get dropped off at Port Authority, then I gotta find my way to Metropolitan, whatever the venue is. And, oh man, my feet are barking at the end of the day. But it's totally worth it. You know, you put in those hard days and it's really cool. What's, if you ever do this again, what's one thing that you absolutely need at the table other than like, I don't know, mask or hand sanitizer or something like that?
Let's see.
For me, it was nuts. A big old thing of nuts because it was hard to like leave the table or go to the bathroom and it like just hard to leave the table in general. So that was like something small that I can kind of like munch on throughout the day.
I mean, frankly, like I knew how long the day would be. So having someone to be able to like watch the table so you can go to the bathroom certainly helped. And I mean, bring snacks, bring Gatorade, bring drinks. And then bring, a lot of cash because, or offer both. I offered both, which I thought was, being a customer multiple times, I think I sort of learned like it was kind of like, I mean, maybe it's changed. I feel like it was like maybe 70-30. People were mostly taking cards, I think. Mm-hmm. But being able to have both, I think you'll get more sales that way.
Oh, definitely. And you can kind of use that to your advantage and strategize like certain prices. Because I've seen this and we've done this before where, with credit cards as a seller, you deal with fees and things like that. And that can be kind of unfavorable at some times.
Yeah.
So I'll tend to kind of have a better deal if you have cash, like 3 for $20 or 4 for $20 or something like that. But
yeah.
It all varies for everyone's got different goals and objectives and things like that. But
yeah, I would say the one thing that I wish that had happened was, like I feel like I only had a few brief moments where I frankly, like, I think it was maybe when I first started setting up in the morning before it was open to the public, I got like one round to just walk through. And a little bit when it was dying out and I started packing up. Like, I wish there was like some kind of, I don't know, like a happy hour or something. So you can actually just sit and talk to these people, Everyone's so busy on like setting their shit up.
Yep.
Like I didn't really, I only got to talk to one or two people or meet one or two people. So, and that's really, I think that's important because, you can see how one relationship with another pin maker, like this is how I got here. So
it's wild. It really is wild, and I do hate that, and I wish that there was some sort of happy hour or like what's the word, intermission? Happening because I get excited to see some of these like people who you don't normally get to see. We're just on different schedules. Some people are coming from California to these shows, so it's like, oh my God, this is a big deal, And you go out and stuff like that, but like you're tired at the end of the night. These people coming from like out of state, like they just want to go to sleep. They don't want to, so it's tough. So we should let's put our heads together, man. Pinhead happy hour, something like that would be kind of interesting.
Yes.
Be very into that. Cool. All right. So here's the last portion of the podcast. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions, some fun pin related stuff, some other pop culture stuff, and a couple things I thought of while we've been conversing.
Okay.
So are you a soft enamel person or a hard enamel type of guy?
Soft enamel all day.
Ooh. Okay. And why?
I don't know. Maybe it's the nostalgic factor of like, that's how I always thought of an enamel pin was soft enamel. The only hard enamel pin that I had, or it's not even a pin, is I did a keychain, which is a hard enamel, which for some reason I feel like maybe it's just because it's a little bit more durable. You're going to throw your keys around but yeah, all my pins are soft enamel. I don't know. I feel like there's this like tactile, you can feel the ridges and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about them.
Just the details pop a little bit more. There's just like a little
Yeah.
bit more depth to it. Are you into dyed enamel pins or glow in the dark enamel pins?
Dyed, but I like glow in the dark. I have 2 glow in the dark pins, so both. I don't know.
Okay. Both is an acceptable answer on the show.
Okay.
I'll accept that. It's tough. Are you into rubber backings or those damn metal butterfly backings?
I am actually, well, I am not into either. I'm into the ones that rip your fingernails off, the backing locks.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Because I had enough complaints when I first started with people that I think don't know about pins, and they were falling. The butterfly clutches were just falling out, and because I wanted to be more of like the higher end experience. The backing locks just like make the most sense with the total kind of vision. So. But I do get a lot of emails. I'm like, how do I open this? I have no idea how you open it. So I mean, once they're on, they stay on pretty fucking well. So
yes, they do. I actually have one on my jean jacket, and the part that you lift up with your fingernails broke off.
Oh no.
So I don't know how to take this one off. I'm gonna have to get like pliers or like really ruin this pin or jacket. I don't know, but they really stay on. So
yes.
What's your favorite metal to make pins on?
I mostly gravitate towards gold and black nickel.
Okay.
Definitely black nickel over black dyed.
Yes. Agreed.
Because it has like it creates some sort of, I don't know, like I think it helps with like the depth, or it's not super. Yeah, I don't know. Those are like my top favorite metals for sure.
I know what you're saying. I've been there. Something about that black nickel. Maybe because like you can make it look like it's black, like all black, and then just a little turn, and you just kind of get like a little lighter reflection of something like that. It's
absolutely.
It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
Are you hashtag pin game strong or pin game proper?
Pin game strong, aka Eduardo, aka Pin Lord. My man. Went to a few of his Instagram seminar talks a few years ago. He's a really, really nice guy. Mm-hmm. Props to Pin Lord. So pin game strong.
I love it. Are you a pin addict or a pin hoarder?
Pin addict.
Okay. Are you a pin trader or a pin collector?
Pin collector.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place to rock a pin?
Usually bag or a jacket.
Bag or jacket. Classic.
Yeah.
Classic. I'm hoping someone will come on the pod and say something other than that, because I want to find more ways to rock pins, like dog collars. Like, is that a thing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
My dog's jean jacket has enamel pins. I made enamel pins. Well, that's a whole other story. My dog is somewhat Instagram famous, but I made enamel pins of them, and they wear them on their own portraits on their jackets, which is its own kind of story, I guess.
That is adorable. Definitely send me pictures after this chat. I want to see that. That's adorable. Yes. I love that. Simpsons or Bob's Burgers?
Simpsons.
Classic. You into comics or video games?
Retro video games. 100%. Nice.
Yes. Give me your favorite console and game.
Oh man. I would say, favorite game probably is, it has to be like Super Mario Brothers 3 is probably like the greatest of all time. Console, I was definitely a Genesis kid versus Super Nintendo growing up, because Genesis was always like, their whole thing at the time was Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
So, I didn't know that.
Which was like the biggest marketing stab ever, which was kind of awesome.
And then look, it kind of bit them in the butt. But
it did.
What's your favorite pizza topping?
I would say probably like the classic pepperoni, or like I remember like in middle school I was obsessed with like broccoli pizza, which is kind of weird, but it's really good.
Hey, I
don't know,
mean,
broccoli.
I guess you're making mom and dad happy by eating your veggies.
Yeah.
Yeah, just some sort of compromise. Listen, mom, dad, I'll do it, but it's got to be on pizza. We got to meet in the middle somewhere.
Yes. Yes.
Who is your favorite Ninja Turtle?
I mean, I don't know if you were like this as a kid, but I feel like everyone with like their cousins got assigned a Ghostbuster or a Ninja Turtle. I was always Donatello for some reason. I don't know why, but I have to say, purple all the way. I don't know.
I love it. Yeah, I kind
Yes.
of got glued as the Michelangelo kid because I was pretty hyper and I loved pizza. I was all about the
Yes.
pizza. So,
Also, did you ever have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cereal growing up? Because that cereal was fucking awesome.
no, I don't think I've ever had the cereal,
It's good.
unfortunately. Damn. I've had like
Yeah.
all those other like fun, like the Pokemon cereal when that was a thing, like way back
Right. Right.
when.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Good
man.
times.
Yeah, right now I think we're a little too old to be eating that kind of stuff.
You're never too old.
It's worth it. It's worth
It
it.
is.
At least I'm getting old. All right. So, what is your ideal camera setup?
I mean, I definitely my top like three cameras that have like I would say the first like life-changing camera for me was the Panasonic DVX 100 because that was the first camera that 24 which sounds like so archaic at this point. It was the first camera that came out with a 24 frame per second option, which was like holy fuck, like nothing was like that at the time. And I shot so many music videos and projects with that camera. And then the other one I think was the 5D Mark II, the Canon, which was the first prosumer camera where you actually had depth of field, which is another funny archaic thing to say, but you had zero depth of field for years and years unless you had like a movie camera.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I would say anything ARRI related. So like an ARRI Alexa, I think is like, I just love the way that those cameras look just out of the box. They're beautiful over the red cam. So
Nice.
yeah.
I like that. I've never had the good fortune of working with those cameras.
They're
I went,
fun.
yeah,
They're expensive, but they're
yeah,
expensive even to rent, but they're
yeah.
fun.
That's cool. I was
Yeah,
Canon
yeah.
for a while, then I made the switch over to the Sony Alpha series and haven't looked
Nice.
back.
Yeah, yeah. No, I have a Sony A6300 and it does a pretty tremendous job at photo and video. So
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And do you have like are you more of a prime or zoom lens kind of dude?
I would say prime for like kind of like studio shoots and interviews, and then zoom lens for more like run and gun for sure.
I like
Yeah.
that.
And the zoom lens usually like a wide to a medium, like a 16 to 24 or something like that.
Okay.
If
Very
we're
cool.
getting real geeky.
Hey, I like it. And we could probably
Yeah.
talk about this for like another hour or so. In the time that you have been running FPS, what do you think has been like one of the top accomplishments for you? Something that you're really proud of?
So there's two that come to mind. One of them is, I guess, turning a negative into a positive, but it was, I think, December 2019. I was overseas on a trip, and thankfully, one of my loyal customers messaged me and said, "Hey, there's some weird Russian company knocking your pins off, like legitimately, like line for line, knocking all of my pins off." So I don't know if means I'm doing something right when you're when you're knocked off. That's kind of an accomplishment, I guess.
I like that. I like that spin on that.
Yeah, yeah. And I tried to threaten them with a cease and desist. Thankfully, they, whatever cease and desist would do to some Russian something, who knows?
Yeah.
Thankfully, they did take it down. Thankfully, but
Cool.
but yeah, I was like, how the hell did they even like? I actually was wondering how they even did it because it was like really terrible knockoff. So I did reach out to my manufacturer just to triple check because I know people have had not great stories about that, but they, they were a relationship from Maurizio and other people. And like, I trust them. So I know that it didn't come from that, but, and I would say the other big accomplishment is just like, I think all the hard work that I did for that 6 months to get there, I always kind of told myself, if I were to even just sell one pin, then it was like kind of worth it, which I know is like not a good business motto, but like, I just knew that there was at least one person that would appreciate it, and I think thinking even beyond that, which has been really interesting with me, which is again why I said in the beginning, where things kind of come full circle and kind of somehow always come back to music, is like I've now taken everything that I've learned for manufacturing, for packaging, for branding, from Film Pin, and I've actually started an entire merch line for my dad's old prog rock band. And the response has been crazy. There's a huge audience for it.
Wow.
No one has done, it's kind of been dormant in terms of merch. And that's been really satisfying because it's just kind of taking the next thing and applying it to something else.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really, you definitely have a lot to be proud of. I like that.
Yeah. It's been fun.
A couple more questions. I know people can probably get a good sense of who you are and what FPS is about, enough for them to kind of form their own opinion and understand how you are different from other pin shops. But in your own words, how are you different? How are you standing out from other enamel pin shops besides the obvious, focusing on the niche?
And I don't know if this is answering your question directly, but I feel like I actually always do wonder this, if people even think that far ahead, but like I am the consumer of the things that I make, if that makes sense. I'm not just some company that's making film pins that knows nothing about film. I like live and breathe this industry. So I'm like also appreciative of these things too. It's not just some person that sits in the back with a hat on and comes up with ideas that can't relate. So I don't know if that answers it directly, but maybe.
No. I completely understand.
Yeah.
I think, with my history of the Turtles, it kind of like gives me like credibility to be able to sling Ninja Turtle related pins.
Right.
Because I have that affinity and because there's a lot of passion, and I am a consumer of my own products. I wear my pins all the time, not to be cocky or to be like, hey, look what I made, but like, this is really cool. And every now and then, depending on what the pin is or who the person is asking, sometimes I'll just like pop it off my jacket or my hat and be like, you like that? Just take it. And I don't tell them anything, but just kind of like make their day, because it's like the little things in life, if you find that, like, what's that cost me to give you to make you have like a cool encounter and have like a fun experience. So I can completely understand where you're coming from that. It's not out of
yeah.
It's very cool. Last question, Noah, what are the little things in life for you?
I mean, I think, I think to me, it's just like, I have this like thirst for creativity, and like wherever and wherever that goes is like, it's always trying to figure out if I can figure out how to do something that I don't know. And like, that's the little, like right now, like there's the big NFT craze, and I've done many, many hours trying to figure that one out. But yeah, I think it's always being interested in and learning and learning new things and learning new ways to like tell stories and be creative. Like that stuff is what I can't never turn that off. I can never turn that stuff off. So it's, and then being able to connect with other like-minded people is, I mean, that's really like what the heart of the whole reason of the whole thing is. Like, you stop someone on the street and you're like, oh shit, a C-stand pin. Like, I know exactly what that is. No one else knows what that is but me, and that's the kind of stuff that makes being creative like really satisfying, is bringing joy to people and connecting people. And I think that's the kind of, those are the little things that brings me joy. So
I like that. That's very wholesome. Very wholesome.
Cool.
I love it. Well, Noah, that's it. You've made it to the end of the Pin Pals episode. How do you feel?
I feel like I need a drink of water and make some more pins.
Yeah.
But no, this is really awesome. You're a great host, and this has been really, really fun to kind of just take a step back and also just kind of talk about the last 3 years of this fun venture. So thanks for having me on.
Of course. This was a great conversation. I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to let you tell your listeners kind of what you have going on, where they can find you. You have any shout outs? I mean, you shout out a couple of people throughout the episodes, but feel free to rattle off some more names. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have some new pin designs kind of coming down the pipeline. You can find everything either on Etsy or on filmpinsociety.com, and then at filmpinsociety on Instagram. I would say, follow us on Instagram. That's usually where the giveaways and the discounts are. If you sign up for our newsletter on our website, you automatically get a 10% discount. And we're looking at maybe expanding some other items that are not pins, like this time code slate keychain did really well, and I think there's some opportunities to maybe test out a few other products, maybe some like a sticker pack of film production items, or I've actually also been thinking of some of the movable pins have been really interesting to see what people do there. Those are really, really cool. So there could be something there. But yeah, look out for more fun, unique film production related pins. There's more coming down the pipeline. So
very cool.
Thanks.
I love it. Well, thanks again, Noah. This has been an absolute pleasure. We hit it off when we met in person, and this conversation just reaffirms that I think that we would be real life friends.
Yes.
This was great. Thank you so much. I feel inspired. I wish you and FPS the best of luck and a successful rest of 2021.
Awesome. Thanks. Same to you.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Right.
Have a good one.
Okay. All right.
Peace.
Bye.
Dare I say another one in the books. It was a pleasure chatting with Noah about film and pins. I geeked out pretty hard. I think that is pretty evident in our conversation. I hope you guys found some value in it, whether you learned a thing or two or you were simply entertained. Thank you guys for making it to this point of the podcast. If you caught a vibe, definitely check out Film Pin Society. His shop and Instagram links will be in the show notes. If you're looking for more Pin Pals content, feel free to check out our YouTube page. We just set that up, and you can watch my ugly mug talk with our beautiful guests on YouTube. If that's your thing, if you like video content, definitely check that out. There are a lot of times where our guests, or even myself, will hold up pins to the camera. So this is just, another visual element, another way to digest the podcast. Link to our channel will be in the show notes. If you feel compelled to support the podcast, there are a number of ways that you can do so. You can buy me a coffee. That helps. I'm still a one-man show running the show, so God knows I need the coffee. For as little as $1 a month, you can support Pin Pals. You guys have came through tremendously so far, and it's been a little overwhelming, but incredibly motivating. I was able to use these funds to purchase a subscription to set up a website for Pin Pals. So that is exciting, and that was made entirely by you guys. So thank you. Like I mentioned before, there are a lot of cool things I have in the pipeline. So, checking out the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes will go a long way. So thank you. Subscribing and turning on notifications for new episodes always helps. This sends positive signals to the algorithm gods. So if you're doing that, thank you. If you haven't, why don't you? Liking and sharing and saving and posting about the podcast on social media also helps a lot, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, it all helps. So thank you. I see you guys already doing that. I appreciate it. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leaving ratings and reviews helps tremendously. I love reading them. Again, it's another thing that helps keep me motivated, and I just get excited, and it's awesome. And I'm actually running out of reviews to read, so I'm hoping you guys can pull through and let's get some new ones up. Here's one from Hayes is King, and I'm going to try and read this in what I think Hayes is King sounds like. As a fellow pin collector, this podcast is one I'm looking forward to. Keep up the hard work. Thanks, Hayes. You're a real one. If you have any feedback, comments, or questions, please email me at thepinpalspodcast@gmail.com or shoot me a DM via Instagram. We're at pinpalspodcast. I've been your host, Eric. Thanks for listening, and remember, it's the little things in life. I'll see you next week for a new episode. Peace.